like death is the end of happening. Happening is karma. Karma is cause and effect. And death for us as an individual is the end of the happening for the individual, but it's not the end of life. So karma continues. We breathe in, we breathe out. I had another psychedelic thought recently, and I was listening to a bachata track. I like listening to bachata when I'm driving. There's a woman, she's from Spain. She does like, it's like flamenco music, sort of flamenco gypsy style music. Her name is Nina Pastori. She doesn't usually do bachata, but she did a bachata track called Lo que yo daría, which means what I would give. And the theme of the song is, what would one do just for love, just for care? And I don't know, I'd been reading something that was like Christian religious that morning, and the two thoughts were rocking around inside of my head as I was doing the drive between Liverpool and London. And in the Christian tradition, we say, and God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And the son dies and then is reborn. And that's us. That's us. We're all that son, all that daughter that dies and is reborn. So all of us die, but there are more children born. So humans come, humans go. They breathe in, they breathe out. You're born, you die, and then born again, and then die, and then born again. What for? What for? What does it mean? What is the mystery behind that phrase? For God so loved the earth that he gave his only son to die, to suffer, to die, and then be reborn. And it's an interesting route into exploring the nature of reality and the nature of consciousness. Why are we here? Every night we go to sleep. We close our eyes. Christ goes into a cave, and then the cave is hermetically sealed with a rock. We go to the grave. We go into, so the cave is yin. It's the ultimate feminine space. You go into that place as you go into your bed, which is a yin space of safety, and then your eyes close like the lids on a coffin, and they close. What happens to your consciousness? Now, if you notice and you do lucid dreaming and meditation, it's quite a fun time to become aware, is when you start to go to sleep. And if you track it, you can observe, like with curiosity and a sense of humor, your normal waking thoughts, like I've got to get the dog dewormer tomorrow at 4, and I have to buy socks, and then I have to go to the bank, and so on and so forth. And then your thoughts just go really weird. You like start thinking weird stuff. And if you're aware, you can think, oh, wow, I'm dreaming now. I'm sort of in this other space that isn't here. And you lose your individuality. You lose the individual sense of self. It's fascinating. I think that's a fascinating time. I had another weird dream that's pertinent to your question. And I was doing this lucid dreaming thing, and I was an alien, and I'm not sure what my form was, but there was this, I was out in space, which is where aliens live, right? And there was this huge tube that was like floating next to a planet, and inside the tube was a predator, and it was making this god-awful screaming sound. And the entity that I was in this dream state was like, oh, let's go into the tube and see what the alien is, because I was like an alien, but I was like a scientist. And then my human brain started dreaming lucidly and became terrified, and it became a nightmare, because I was like, I could get stuck in the tube and that alien predator thing could eat me. But in the dream that I was having before my human egoic sense of self kicked in, I didn't have a shape. I didn't have a form. I couldn't get stuck and I couldn't get eaten because I didn't have flesh. But then when I started to become me, I was like, no, my shoulders won't fit in there. And then this horrible demon alien thing is going to slowly dissolve me and spit acid, and I'm going to die screaming. So then I woke up and I was like, oh, wow. So like fear is in the flesh. Fear is in the flesh. Back to the Christ story before. What happens to Christ? He's tortured. He's humiliated. But it's his flesh that's tortured. It's a myth that has a lot locked into it, that if we start pulling it apart, I think that it tells us a lot about the nature of reality and the purpose of consciousness. So why is he tortured? Why is he stripped naked and whipped? Why is he stripped naked, whipped, and then held on high so everyone can see him slowly being tortured to death? That's fear. That's the flesh. The flesh is fear. If you don't have flesh, what do you fear? I'm not going to be scared of some dumb alien. If I don't, what's he going to do to me if I don't have arms to pull off or skin to flay? Like, wow, you're screaming. I guess that's scary. You have big teeth to sink into what? I'm not a thing. So what happens after death? We de-thing. We de-thing. We're not an individual thing anymore. We're not this. We're not a localized person with a name and a bank account and a national insurance number. We just de-thing. We dissipate and go back into the ocean of consciousness. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's a tremendous relief and a tremendous release. But that is what happens. It's night and day, eyes open, eyes closed, breathe in, breathe out. We die and we are reborn. We've been here many times before. And I don't necessarily mean that in like a weird reincarnation sense, but the me that is me is so incredibly similar to my ancestors that if an alien came along, they would see this swarming mass of maggots called humans and be like, oh, there you are again. Oh, you're dead. Oh, there you are again. Oh, you're dead. Oh, there you are again. And they'd talk to me. And I'd be like, well, I don't remember any of my previous lives. And like, you don't need to, you dummy. We saw you before. We saw you before. We saw you before. It's a different way of looking at reality. If you're very attached to your ego and your sense of self and your body, death is terrifying. If you can detach and expand your perception beyond that, what's to be scared of?